So we're going to be talking about The Return, The Outrun, at Zola, Mufasa, Star Trek Lower Decks, the final season, Life, Off Grid, The Exorcism, A Different Man, Babygirl, and The End of Violence. And James is going to talk about the Civil War, it looks like, but I don't know if he'll get a chance because I have quite a stack. It
was
raining.
Rainy and we haven't
for
done a lot of deck dinners, as we call them. So.
And now I'm going to be busy because it's sunny and my plants need repotting and some of them.
Well, it's good they've got to that point. It's just, it has to be done. But in other words, you've grown them up to this point. They're getting bigger. So it's like buying new clothes for kids, buying new shoes or whatever. And
James's dinner is another pancake pizza, and today's toppings are mushrooms and white onions and tomato. So we'll see if he likes that. He should. Oh, and mozzarella cheese instead of the marble stuff. But anyway, The Return got top of the stack for me, and I really had to think about it because honestly, these first three, very, very top of the stack worthy. So I was thinking of putting this third. But honestly, I'll get to those later and why I decided that this deserves top of the stack. So there's everybody knows of the story of the Odyssey, I'm sure, and it's one worth knowing. It's an interesting one. And James will probably spend a whole half an hour talking about this later. So stay tuned.
Time, maybe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's definitely worth talking about and definitely worth knowing about. So, now why this got top of the stack wasn't just because they did a good story. They did a good telling of this part of the story, and they had the actors to do it with.
And Pauline's right. It's only part of the story.
So, Ralph Fiennes, or Ralph, I don't know how you say his name. I've heard it pronounced differently, and
well,
I'm not
the Brits
sure.
would say it Ralph, but we'd say it Ralph.
Okay, so anyway, he plays Odysseus, and I don't think they could have got a better person to play him. He's really buffed up for this.
Oh, man.
And
I don't know how old he is, but boy, did he look stringy strong.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just like you would expect he'd look after, like he's a soldier, and he got back from a major journey. And
before then, he was in a major war.
Yeah, so you'd expect this is what he'd look like. Juliette Binoche, oh my gosh, she's a vampire. She is still the most beautiful woman in the world, I think, on the planet. She's just amazing. And honestly, I think she's about James's age, and she looks about my age, and I'm way more beautiful. She's just stunning. And so honestly, who wouldn't go to great lengths to return to her? Wow. And
well, it's
I mean,
not
there's
just
the big
looks.
power thing, and
she
everything.
knows how to act, right?
Yeah. Oh, she's a great actress, and she looks naturally beautiful. She doesn't look like she's had plastic surgery or any kind of thing like that. She's just looks like she's that beautiful naturally, and I don't know how she's managed to hang on to it. I mean, people talk about French women and how French women are so beautiful. They hang on to their looks and stuff like that.
Pauline's
don't know.
French, don't.
I'm only half French,
She's half French,
and it obviously doesn't show. When I was a teenager, my French mother, she would say. There was this one episode of, I think it was Donahue or something we watched, and it was something like beautiful women and their dumpy daughters or something like that. And my mom kept referring to that that episode because I mean, here I am. I really don't. I'm not the kind of person to try to look good, and I never have been really. You know, I sometimes in my life I thought, oh, everybody else is doing this. I should wear makeup and do whatever, and it's just not me. You know, so.
The best makeup, folks, for men or women, is getting out and walking.
Yeah, and I do that. So.
And a healthy diet.
Yeah, and if my back were better, I would look a lot better. It's what it is. I do the best with what I have. So, I don't really have any complaints about the return. James did a little bit with casting, but he might talk about that later. And it certainly wasn't with the main characters in the story. They were great, and the story's great. His dog is great. Everything's great about that movie. It's definitely worth watching. Watch the movie. So the Outrun. So I'm not really a fan of. I always want to like. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Is it Saoirse Ronan? I always want to like her more than I do as an actress. In this, she really did the job. So.
Wow. I mean, it's Irish, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know. I've studied Old Irish at university, and it is, and I'm part Irish, so it's the most insanely, the sound system for Irish is the most insane, except for Tibet. Tibetan's got so many silent
So this,
letters.
I was really thinking, should I put this top of the stack? Because honestly, I didn't expect this from her. And I didn't expect this from this story. So it's a story about a woman who's an alcoholic, and she's struggling with it. And I have never enjoyed a story like that before, and they did a great job with this. The scenery is fantastic. It's artful, and you really get to, you feel sympathy for her, even though she's a mess. But at the same time, you see her father is bipolar, and like James was saying, there's a lot of rock and roll stars that they're bipolar and they have addiction problems like crazy. It's just, it's so. You have to have sympathy for them. Who couldn't? Anyway, so the story is certainly worth watching. Even just for the scenery, so beautiful. So, and I mean, you have that with the return too. You have some beautiful scenery at Zola. Oh my God, I laughed and laughed when I had seen the previews for this one, and I was like, that's not one I want to watch. I couldn't understand why anybody would want to watch it, and here I decided, okay, well, I watch everything, I'm going to do it. And if it weren't for the ending being a little bit like, it's still going. And honestly, that's not a bad ending, because you realize that these people, this is just a day in the life for them, and it is going to keep going like that. So I'm not saying that the ending is bad. It had this unfinished feeling about it, which I realized that given who these people are, it kind of has to. But at the same time, you got to find some way to wrap this up. Just one thought, right? Rather than, I don't know. I just didn't feel great about the ending. That's why this ended up third. But, man, I did not expect this from the story. When the time that I laughed so hard was, most of the story is Zola's story. So that's this woman here. She's telling the story. And then you have a little bit where it's Stephanie's story. And oh my gosh, I laughed so hard when they showed Stephanie's take on it was What did she say? It was so funny. I started laughing just with what she said. It was like, she's just jealous because everybody wanted me and she made $1 or something like that, right? And given the story, it's like, oh my gosh, that's not the true story anyway. And then it shows what Zola's wearing and stuff. I'm surprised I didn't pee myself. It was so funny. Stephanie's version of the story will make you laugh like crazy. And honestly, this story is excellent. And I'm going to give you a spoiler alert here, because I didn't figure this out until the end of the story. Like, at the beginning, they say that it's based on true story, or mostly true, right? And then you see, okay, yeah, Stephanie's version's not true. And Zola, it's probably dead on, right? But at the end of the story, it says something about the story was taken from the tweets and Twitters of these women. Seriously. This is their life. And they were tweeting and twittering about it, and who would? But they did. And these guys told the story just perfectly. It is awesome. Oh boy. So yeah, everyone should watch this. Everyone should watch those 3 for sure. And Mufasa, Disney will rarely let you down. And it didn't let me down. I enjoyed it. It's really beautiful. Wow, did they do a great job with the scenery and the talking animals, everything. It looks real. You think these animals, yeah, they're right out there and they're talking and whatever. It's perfectly done that way. But now I watched it and I thought everyone will watch this movie once. And I thought, I don't think they'll watch it again. I don't think I will. So as beautiful as it is, I think Disney kind of missed the mark a little bit that way, because with the Disney movies, you want something to put on for the kids. Disney Fast Play, it's just going to go again and again and again, and the kids are going to love it. And this, I don't think this works that way. So, as much as it's great to watch the ones, I don't know about continuing. And I don't know about, why do you have to have lighter colored lions and with blue eyes, and they're bad guys? Honestly,
cut it out.
Come on, man.
That's like stereotyping. That's not based on, I mean, you got some Germans back before I was born that were nasty. God, cut it out.
Okay, Star Trek Lower Decks, the final season. Very entertaining. I enjoyed it very much. It's just not top of the stack material, right? And I guess that's why it's the final season, because more people must have thought that way too. But it's an entertaining show. I enjoyed watching it. I fell asleep a few times while watching it, but that's great. I love cartoons and I fall asleep too. It's, everything has its purpose. Anyway, Life Off Grid. Now this is about Canadians, and they say in every territory. Well, there's provinces too. Anyway, so this is about Canadians who are living off the grid. And it shows the very different ways that they're living off the grid. But there are similarities too. And when I was watching it, they showed this bit, the guy talking, he's the guy who's doing the interviewing, he's putting on the show, whatever. And Jonathan Taggart. So his name's here a lot on the back. And they show him talking to a CBC, getting an interview with the CBC. And for a Canadian, maybe elsewhere things are different, but if a Canadian watching this guy getting interviewed and stuff, honestly, not a lot of Canadians really want to fund the CBC anymore, as much as some of us do enjoy, like, because news is awesome. But really, yeah, anyway, that's for a story for another day. And it kind of, public funding, for people who don't make a lot of money, when they're looking at people making videos and flying all over the country to interview these people, and it's like, okay, there's got to be a better way than you flying all over the country and getting the taxpayer to pay for your big Canadian adventure, going to every territory, whatever. And have the people, they all have the internet, and they can record their little videos, and then you can splice it together. Get them to send it in to you, and then you work it together, right? You can do your interviews over Skype. I mean, he was pointing out that everybody who was living off the grid, he said well, maybe not everybody, but he was saying it seems like it's common for people to have the internet and whatever. He was talking to one guy who had satellite television, and he was like, a lot of people don't have the television, but they have the internet, but anyway, but he liked his hockey night in Canada and whatever.
Was that the guy who had the exercise bike
to grind the flour?
Like
so he didn't have to feel like he was wasting time when he was, because these people are busy. That's their point. Saying how they do it. I mean, living off the grid elsewhere might not be so tough. Canada, you better work. And so that's what they're saying. You're going to have to work for it. And don't expect it to be like you envision it to be in your dreams. It's going to be hard work, and your dream's going to have to change in order for you to actually make it work.
One guy had a good idea. You're mentioning it. Try working off the grid before you go off.
Yeah, that was a great idea.
Cut everything out. And then
cut all your power off, just live without it,
see if
you can handle it. And then give yourself, say, okay, I'm going to allow myself this much power, and see if you can handle that. And then you get an idea of, oh, this is what I can actually handle, living with this amount of power. And then you get an idea of, this is how much power I need, right? Because, I mean, there's a guy in here who he shows his, how he makes hydroelectricity with his little, he has a little waterfall that it goes through anyway. And he doesn't get a lot of power off it. And it's good to know, oh, this is how much power I'm going to get off this thing. But with that, well, that's running a lot more than, say, the sun. You might get an idea, oh, well, I have solar panels. I'm going to get sun 12 hours a day, and I'm going to do this much. Oh, well, it might be 5, or it might be almost none. It depends on the day, right? And
or the season.
Yeah, or where you are.
How far north you are.
Yeah. So, anyway. So, I thought there were a little bit too much discussion with the people, just rather than showing exactly how they did it. Because a lot of them, they say, okay, well, I figured out how to do this because I talked to other people who were doing this and found out, a lot of everything, you're going to have to do everything yourself. So you figure out how to do it, right? And you're going to have to, if it breaks down, you got to repair it. So you got to know how this stuff works. And
if you're living off the grid, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, so they didn't show enough of that. And I think that if the people had made their own videos and sent it in, then what he could have done is he splice it together and say at the end of the video, if you want to see more information on so-and-so, so-and-so, and then they have all of their videos uploaded on a site, and you can just watch them. You can go, I like the way that guy lives. I want to learn more about that, or whatever, right? That would have been better. Instead, the Canadian taxpayer wasted money sending Jonathan Taggart all around the country so that he could have a big vacation.
It's
kind of gross.
It's called a junket, folks.
Yeah.
I was just going to mention, you could try a different thing, like that fellow was suggesting going cold turkey and cutting back. The other thing is you could say, cut out this, oh, I can handle that, cut out that more, I can handle that. That's an alternative, right? And a little less extreme and so on and so forth. But try it before you do the Supertramp thing. Was that Supertramp guy, that was an awful...
Yeah, you got to feel sorry for that guy.
Yeah, he just tried to cold turkey it, and he ended up dying. Was he trying to live in a school bus? I can't even remember.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name of it is.
Alaska.
They should have just called it Supertramp, because that's what I remember it as. Yeah. And my sister said, no, that's not the name of it. It's so and so. And I was like, oh, is it? Yeah. And she got the name right, but I don't remember what it was.
Anyway, he was styling himself that, wasn't he? Supertramp or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So
Yeah, he was calling himself a Supertramp.
I don't know. There was something called the Autobiography of a Supertramp. It dates before the 70s.
And I don't know if I've never done that, lived as a Supertramp. Some of our favorite times have been living as rubber tramps, though. Driving around and living out of the van or the car. We used to.
More a car.
And it was a lot of fun.
It was enough fun. Like the real fun part is not living that way. Like kind of hand to mouth almost. But
it was hard on my. I'm glad we have a van now because it was hard on my back. I had to move the coolers to the front seat and all that so that we could sleep in the back. And
it actually gets the same amount of mileage that our car station wagon we had before looks like.
Yeah.
But that's our only, and we bought it very much used. That's our only luxury, really.
Mm-hmm. So, The Exorcism, sorry, with Russell Crowe. This is a different kind of story about the whole demon possession thing, whatever. And at first I thought, oh, this might be kind of interesting, right? And it's kind of interesting. It's about a guy who stars as an actor, and he has some demons in his past, right? And he has some
Russell
problems
Crowe's
with addiction.
autobiography, but
and anyway, things end up kind of different. He's an actor, and he's playing a guy who's a priest, and he's had problems with priests in his past, and so he's playing a priest who is doing this exorcism, and this is just a movie kind of thing, but it doesn't turn out like that. So if you're into that sort of thing, you might be. I'm not.
He's not a Catholic like Mel Gibson, is he?
I don't think so, but
I hate to think so.
Whatever.
Not all Catholics are like Mel Gibson. I think this last Pope, the one who died a couple of days back, was it. As far as popes go, is a right-on dude. Sorry about that.
A different man. So this is a story about a guy who is disfigured, and he ends up, he's in love with his neighbor, and she's a script writer or whatever. She makes movies or plays, and he fakes his death when he goes through an experimental treatment that makes him look normal. So his disfigurement is
chemical, something like that.
Fixed, and he decides, well, the old me is dead, and so he decides, well, I'm pretending he's dead, right? And so she decides, well, since he's dead, I'm just going to tell his story and pretend that I just made it up, right? That, not give him credit for it or whatever. And she has no idea that he's still alive, whatever. I expected this to be better than it was.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. So
too bad.
Yeah, it's too bad because
I
wanted to watch it.
Semi-interested in it.
Yeah, I know. And I had seen the previews, and I'm like, oh, I want to watch that one. It didn't work out great. So, Babygirl. It says delicious, spiky, sexy, and daring, and I would say no.
And then she's got duck lips.
Yeah, and well, that's one thing. You look at Juliette Binoche in the same sort of like couple days away from each other or whatever, the same movie watching marathon during rain days, and there's no comparison. Juliette Binoche is amazing looking, and Nicole Kidman looks very
well, for me it's the duck
artificial.
lips.
Yeah, really.
They're not as bad as some of the ones were, like, was it 20
plastic
years
surgery
ago?
kind of whatever.
Yeah.
It's just not a good look. I was thinking, she's I was thinking she looked like, what's her name, the Tammy Faye Baker.
Oh my
Only,
God! Yeah.
I mean, better better looking than Tammy Faye, because Tammy Faye was a little bit overweight and stuff like that, right?
Well,
But
I'd be overeating if I were married to that Jim
Yeah,
Baker.
maybe so.
Jeez, sorry, folks, but can't help cussing when I'm talking about those.
But honestly, she just looked too
televangelists.
artificial, too done up. And I didn't find this torrid affair. I didn't find this believable. I didn't find the relationship between these people believable. Or honestly, the relationship between, like, she has a husband who's Antonio Banderas, and I mean, he's handsome and everything. But honestly, I didn't buy their relationship. And
well, I don't think anyone would ever accuse him of being a great actor. Even her of being a great actor. But
yeah,
Antonio, what was he?
she's improved.
Was he an
over the years.
MMA kind of thing or something like that? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Kung Fu kind of guy.
Oh, really? I have no idea.
It's hard to.
But yeah, I wasn't believing this story, and I was thinking last night, how could I? Like, I was wanting to say, maybe if you could do it this way or whatever, maybe it would work. But I was thinking about it last night, and that's what I was up at night really thinking through. Well, how am I going to review this? What am I going to say? Like, to try to give some constructive criticism of it.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work.
It's kind of Nicole Kidman's marriage to Tom Cruise. It didn't quite work.
I didn't believe the story. I mean, she's already a successful, high-powered CEO. I don't see her.
Oh, that's amazing. I was listening to it in
way.
the background. I didn't get that impression at all. Gosh. Okay.
Yeah, not at all. So, but
there was a lot of whispering.
Yeah.
Whisper.
I don't know. She didn't really have much to work with that way, though.
No.
Because here she is, I think, with both Juliette Binoche in that movie and Nicole Kidman in this, they're playing women that are younger than characters that are younger than they actually are. And in the case of Juliette Binoche, she pulls it off. In the case of Nicole Kidman, she does not. She does look like a woman her age who is getting a lot of plastic surgery and stuff like that to try to look younger. That's what she looks like.
I don't know what it is about those duck lips that are awful.
I don't know why they do it.
Yeah. You'll see some people locally, and it's embarrassing. Anyway, you want to try to get
and
that
the ending
last...
is just worse. So
there you go. You want to try to get that last
the
one.
end of Violence. That's the end of the stack.
That one's got to be awful.
It was awful. It was so bad. I mean, I was trying to follow the story, which was hard to follow. There were some interesting things about it. The acting was bad. The story was bad. The directing and everything, like the putting it together, deciding, okay, what should be in the story, the telling of it was bad, right? It was just not good. Not good at all.
Bad on all counts. Okay.
Yeah. So, let's see how much time. We have 32 seconds.
Holy
You're
smokes,
right.
We fit that one in.
We fit it in.
So just stay tuned for a Civil War dictionary. I've done a little bit of it and do a little bit of it and so on and so forth. Maybe a little bit more tomorrow. I want to discuss maybe a little bit more about that environmental thing, getting off grid.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's
Ulysses, the story of Odysseus.
All right, so I'm going to, with the last 7 seconds, I'm going to show you my victory garden. There it is. Beautiful, beautiful.